What's good? What's good, guys? Your boy, Mr. Old School Ryder, come back at you one more again. I have a special guest on the show today. I have Miss Ericka Williams. Welcome to the program.
Hello, everybody.
All right, it's been a long time coming, Ericka. It's been a lot of delays and all kind of stuff on my end, of course. But
No worries, no worries.
tell us about yourself, Miss Ericka.
Well, you guys may know me as Ericka Williams from the Classy Climb blog. I've been doing YouTube for about 6-7 years at this point, six-figure YouTuber, done over 6,000 paid phone consultations. We have about 10,000 students in total that kind of grace the Classy Climb, ecosphere. And then on top of that, we've just kind of been just enjoying the YouTube ride, pretty much.
Oh, yes. I've been seeing you for a very long time in different spaces on other people's channel. You give a lot of great information, actually. You get free game, too.
Well, something someone told me, they're like, you could tell everybody step by step how to do something, and they still wouldn't do it. And so it's like, hey, just give it away. Be a go-giver. It's a really great book as well, go-giver book.
Oh, yeah. Like somebody told me, the game has game is not free, but it has a fee. But it's up to the individual to actually take the information to apply to whatever they're trying to apply it to. So, Ericka, how did you get into the financial part of it?
I come from a family that are military cops and farmers, right? They have this extensive background in this area, Central North Carolina, and people be like, man, how your family owning these rental properties? How your family owning this other stuff? I thought they were just, farmers. I thought they were just cops. And it was because they had this kind of foundation of my grandfather owned a juke joint and the farm, right? He had a business. And so it's like the business mind was there. And so I would be telling people, stories of my family, and they'd be like, no way, And so it was interesting. The more I told those stories, the more I talked to people, the more I realized, like, for a lot of people, they just don't know anybody. It's just lack of exposure. So I would talk about business. I would talk about how I owned a coffee shop right after college. Not exactly right, but a couple years after college. And then I closed it after 2 years and moved to Texas and, just kind of like got back into business. But the more I talked with people, the more I realized people were afraid. They didn't have anybody to talk to. They didn't know what was the next step to take. And so they would just stay where they were. They wouldn't get out of their comfort zone.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've been noticing you for a long time, especially in the comment section of certain videos.
What I do is I just shotgun it. If I'm hopping around YouTube, I just go support people, super chat, take some money, comment, leave some stuff, and just keep moving. I know sometimes it drives people crazy. They're like, what are you doing over here? And I'm like, I'm just a YouTube watcher like everybody else, right? So.
Yeah, for a second I thought you was a troll. I'm like, this can't be her on here.
Yeah, it'd be me.
Yeah, you professional with it. You do be roasting.
Well, my biggest thing is I tell people, I'm like, what people kind of like lose is the ability to tell the truth, right? They want to say everything that's popular, that's likable, and I'm just gonna cut it to you straight, right? Which I try to be softer, but at the end of the day, what I usually understand is I don't lie to you. Like I come on YouTube, I tell it how it is, I tell it what I'm doing, what businesses are doing, so then I never have to go back pedal a story to kind of fix that, right? A lot of these people be out here on YouTube living these fantasy lives, and then they got to go back and backpedal and fix it. It's like, why do that when you can just tell the truth?
Yeah, you got a lot of fake it till you make it on YouTube. I can't knock the hustle, but in reality, people just selling dreams that's incomplete.
For sure. I mean, and I think they cheapen it for themselves. You know what I mean? It could be a really good, enjoyable, like hobby, right? Because some of them, you treat it like a hobby, you get paid like a hobby. You treat it like a business, you get paid like a business. A lot of them treat it like a hobby, so then they get paid like a hobby. But if they treated it like a business, they'd have a lot more success.
Yeah, I'm pretty much kind of started going there. You good?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to make sure.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, you're right about that. You have to treat it as a business. It's pretty much your time that you're spending on the internet. You got to buy equipment, you got to buy a camera, microphone, things like that. You got to get a rate of return, or you got to get your rate of return back from that. I mean, if you want to make this into a business, of course.
And that's the thing. Do these people want to make it a business? Right? Do these people want to have, do they want to do the work that takes to have a consistent, like, radio show, right? So that's why sometimes I call some of the YouTube channels you see are kind of like radio shows. Like, they see a radio DJ and they think, well, I could do that too. What's so different about what I'm doing versus what he's doing? I'm like, there's a whole back office, there's a whole build out that you're not even like taking into consideration.
Yeah, you have I know on your end, you have a lot of moving pieces. You got like an assistant and all kind of stuff. I'm like, dang. I mean, I'm glad you reach out. I feel like you was able to answer my emails and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I reach out to certain people. I'm like, you know what? They'll hit me when they hit me.
Well, what I try to tell people is like, I have like contractors overseas. I have a VA that's in the Philippines. I have, staff that do creative editing. I have a video guy that flies with me and flies to the location and films me. Like, there's more than just, you want to do something, do it right kind of thing.
Oh, wow. Okay. So since you've been on YouTube for 6 years, have you always been doing the financial part of it on YouTube, or have you been did you do something else before you transitioned into the business part of it?
I really just spoke from a place of when I moved here to Texas. I was like reading a lot of motivational books. I was speaking from, little motivational quotes, talking to people, trying to encourage myself and others. And then I was just kind of documenting the journey, really.
You know what? I got to ask this question. Why Texas?
I literally flipped a coin, and you know what I mean? I literally flipped a coin, and I was like, I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee, or Texas. And really, like, anywhere southeast, like, every conference I was going to while I was in North Carolina was like, yo, Southeast about to blow up. It's about to blow up. You better be in the Southeast. Like, everything said that. So as soon as I moved to Texas, yeah, Texas started blowing up, but so did Charlotte, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta. Atlanta's always been booming, but not like this. Like, if you look at the number from 2012 to now, like, people have tripled, if not quadrupled, their populations. Their rent prices have doubled. Their housing has doubled. I remember seeing this duplex in Charlotte for like $125.
Whew.
Right before that, I saw it for $74,000, and now you can't get something less than $350,000, $400,000.
And Charlotte, and Charlotte?
Yeah, it was a duplex.
Oh wow.
So that's why I be telling people, I'm like, don't sleep on it. Don't sit here and be like, well, I got time. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe later. I'll be like, no, that's not true. Like, you cannot guarantee. And that's kind of what people are doing. People are being reactive instead of proactive, essentially.
So what type of necessary steps do some people need to get themselves set up if you want to make a big purchase like that?
If you want to make a big purchase like that, really you got to examine, why do you want to make that purchase? What's your long-term goal? Like, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? Because you start talking to some people and they're like, they didn't really have a 5-year plan anyway, or they didn't have a 10-year plan. So if you don't have a 5-year plan, you're already there. That's what I tell people. I'm like, if you haven't made a decision on kind of where you're trying to go or what you're trying to do, you're already there. Because you'll just keep cruising what you're doing now and keeping it comfortable till you get there. So somebody tells me they want to make a big purchase, I go, okay, first, why?
Oh, wow.
Second, where are your financials at right now? How much money do you make a year? How much you got saved? What's the credit score looking like? Do you have any money in reserves, right? So these are some simple questions. I don't want to slow them down from buying property, but I want them just to think about it before they do.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I'm from Texas, actually, myself, from Dallas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's another reason what kind of drawn to you. I'm like, why Texas? It's actually, I mean, besides the real estate, Texas is a no state income tax as well.
Well, I think people really don't understand that Texas is that place of opportunity, and you guys are expanding this way, not going vertical. Like, you have a lot of just, like, anytime I meet people who are from Texas, and I put it to you like this: as a military kid who moved around a lot, once you live somewhere for a while, it's hard for you to see it with fresh eyes. There are people who come here from New York and are like, yes. There are people who come here from Ohio and they're like, these prices are cheap. And then I'll talk to somebody who's been in Texas their whole life and they're like, yeah, it's real hard to get a job out here. And you'd be like, what are you talking about? Right? Like I remember working at this apartment and it was Section 8, nothing wrong with that. And there was a young lady, beautiful young lady. She had 2 kids. She always been going to school. Like she had never got a job her whole adult life. And so she finished her master's degree in HR, and we're like, hey, where are you going to go work? She's like, oh, because I'm naming off Home Depot, Lowe's, HEB, all this stuff. And she looked at me crazy. Like, oh, no, I don't know where. I want to go work in an office, and, Texas is in a recession. Me and all the other girls in the office about busted out laughing. We're like, what recession? Where?
Oh, wow.
Like, and so you got to understand that sometimes when you meet people who live somewhere, they have created a whole reality that ain't even real, right? They said, oh, it's always been bad over here. And you're like, what's bad, right? And so you really have to, like, I strongly suggest people move around. If they live on one side of town, they need to move to a whole another side of town. I just strongly suggest people kind of open up their kind of their horizons, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've pretty much been in Texas most of my life before I actually moved to Atlanta like a couple years ago. But there's a lot of space and opportunity in Texas. If it's like you said before, if it's not going the way that you want it to go in one area, just move somewhere else.
I be talking to people and I be trying to figure out, like, why you here? If you don't want to be here, move. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to, like, hear people complain about it because it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah, I thought, actually Atlanta worked out pretty great for me so far. I'm not going to lie to you. I transferred for my job. Atlanta, it is true. If you can figure out what you want to do, you can make some money at it.
Yeah.
There's no lie on that. I pretty much double my salary out here so far. And I'm trying to maybe do other stuff to make a little bit more money. That's one reason why I contacted you and Dre and maybe some other people. Kind of get an idea of what else I can do.
Like mobile notary and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, I need to reach back out to him and see if I can get with him. I want to do the mobile notary as well. Kind of give me another stream of income. But basically, this is a car channel. Some of the people on my channel and what I do, I put cars together like older cars. Most people like me, we buy like old cars. We might sell them and flip them. Or we get like a parts car and just kind of sell the parts off or make a little bit more money. Sometimes we trying to figure out another stream of income besides that.
Right.
That's where the mobile notary come into place. The real estate. All kind of stuff to add on to your hat.
So are you like a pick apart place where you take apart the vehicles? Or are you just saying that's something you like to do on the side?
That's something I do on the side.
I gotcha.
Yeah, where I'm in Texas, I have some acres here and there or whatnot, but I have a lot of my cars. I got a couple cars. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's what I came up on. I wasn't able to buy like no new car until like maybe like a few years ago. I was always working on like an older car.
It's a skill. It's a skill that we will still need. There will always be somebody who needs something fixed on a car. Trust.
Yeah, this skill brought me a long way. It pretty much brought me to Atlanta, so I'm making this. The money's pretty decent so far. I want to just do other stuff just in case this fall through or whatever.
For sure. Atlanta has a lot of opportunity. Even if you worked with somebody as an assistant in real estate, or you partner with somebody to buy a rental out there or buy Airbnb, or there's a lot of stuff you could do. It just depends on what your outlook is.
Yeah, I got to put a plan together for that as well. I'm going to have to end up looking into some of your courses so I can kind of figure out what's going to work on my end of it.
You always got to take I always tell people, take an inventory of what you feel you're really strong at, right? Like, what do you feel you're strong at? What are your weaknesses? And then kind of work within that space and just reach out to everybody in your space, right? Like, you might reach out to some more car people and then, like, car opportunities show up for you. Or, it just depends on, like, it's always like who you bumping into. That's what I tell people, like, check out who you bump into, because that's usually where opportunity arises.
Yeah, I met a lot of people out here. I got to say for myself, I would never think I met some of the people that I actually ran into in Atlanta. It's big, but it's small.
That's what I say about Austin. When people talk to me about Austin, I be like, we are small out here. It is small out here. Like,
you say you're in Austin?
Uh-huh.
Oh man, that's Silicon Valley of Texas right there.
Well, what ends up happening is you realize you'll meet a bunch of people, same people over and over again, and then a bunch of them will move. And so I always tell people, I'm like, it's not as big as you think. It's just not. To me, it's not as big as you think.
Oh yeah, I've been all over Texas, but Austin is one of those spots if you want to get like a high paying job, if you got that particular skill. Houston is like the party city and also old money down there.
Well, Houston still has a lot of stuff going on too now. Houston, I feel like a working class person, somebody that's in between 50 to 100,000, can still have a good life in Houston. Here in Austin, it's getting tight a little bit for them to have the same kind of access, if that makes sense.
Yeah, even the outside areas are awesome, like Georgetown and those little areas. They get kind of crazy.
Pflugerville.
Yo, Pflugerville is out of there right now. All right. Ask a few more questions here. Since it's a car channel, Miss Ericka, what was your first car?
So my first car that I bought was a Mitsubishi Lancer. My car before that was like a little Toyota. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was like a hand-me-down. Everybody in our family had drove it. All the boys in our family, they put them in like a Ford Ranger, little pickup truck, like because where we were from, the area, farm areas, and all the girls got like a four-seater car. So.
Oh wow.
I bought the Mitsubishi Lancer in college, and I thought I was so fast. And I got in a ditch, and it was a wrap. I tore that car up.
So Mitsubishi Lancer, so that must be like the early 2000s then, right?
Yeah, you watch that Too Fast, Too Furious, out there, Toyota Drift, and I was like, yeah. And then I'm like, no.
Yeah, I know you was in there punching on the gas, moving the gear shift, like, yeah, I'm like Fast and the Furious.
I think, because being in the military towns, there were a lot of car shows. My mom, so the funny thing is my mom had a 1966 SS. God, what's the name of that car? I don't want to kill this story, but
is it a Chevelle or is it Chevelle or Malibu, you think?
It was a Chevelle. It was a muscle car. And she had only like $1,000 left in payments. She was deployed overseas. My grandma didn't pay the bills because my grandma was confused on, did she have to go up there to pay it, or did she have to, were they going to come by the house? Like, I don't know what ended up happening, but the man, when he came to tow it, he was like, well, I tell you, she going to be mad with you when she gets back. She's like, well, y'all can call her. She's only in German, stationed in Germany. And my mom got back, she was like, I had to calm down. I was about to flip that house over. But yeah, she had a muscle car, and so to this day, she still tells the story. I had a muscle car once, and it's like, my grandpa had this really nice, it's like a blue, it's like that blue green, or it's like a green color, green and white, Chevrolet older car, like the ones you see from like Miami and the ones you see from like Cuba. And it was beautiful, but nobody can drive it now, and plus it's been sitting forever, so it's probably not very useful.
Yeah, if you can find somebody to kind of get it going, kind of keep it up. That's some of these old cars are worth a lot of money right now.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm like, I was in Killeen. I think I was in Killeen, and they had like a whole yard full of older cars, but you had to I can't remember what it was. Like some of them you had to tow them. You just couldn't drive them. Now I will say, I don't know if you saw this show, but it was like the nurse from the horror movie show, American Horror Story. She had this 1938 little hunchback looking vehicle, and I was like, oh my god, like I want that. And after that show, like that vehicle actually is very popular. It's a 1938 something. I have to go find it. I'm sorry, I know your car people are like, what in the world? Why she don't know these cars?
You know what? If it's a humpback, I'm thinking it's either a Ford or a Chevrolet. That's what I'm thinking of.
It is 1938 Ford from American Horror Story.
That might be a Ford, probably.
Let me see. It was like Nurse Ratched. That's what it was. The show was Nurse Ratched.
Oh man, I got to see that.
And it is a let me see. She drives a mint green Ford Coupe from 1938.
Yep, I know it. That's one things I'm kind of into, like car wise. Mm-hmm. Not all cars are worth a lot of money, just like some of these cars right now. They're not all equal.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with that. Some people will try to get. I mean, I guess the way the market is right now, everything then went up. But you got to buy just like anything else. You got to buy it smart.
Well, I wanted to be able to drive, and then also I'm not a big stick person. Like I learned how to drive a stick when I was younger, and I was just like over it. So I really rather have it be an automatic, but I know old cars aren't always automatic.
I mean, you can make it happen. You just got to spend a few dollars on it, switch it over.
$2 is gonna be like a few thousand.
Ain't nothing to you. Ain't nothing to a player. You can do it.
That's what they say. I'm gonna look into it. But yeah, that car, 1938, 1939 Ford Coupe, that's beautiful. Something about that.
So you say the name of the lady is Nurse Ratched?
Nurse Ratched. It's a TV show, and literally she drove this car, and that car was on the TV show.
Oh wow.
Because it was 1950s. They're like, no, it's a 1938, 1939 Ford Coupe, and it just was very popular.
All right. Let's go to a fun fact. Besides the car thing, how long have you been riding motorcycles?
So the past 2 years, I've been trying to pass my test out here in Texas. They don't be playing. I have a Kimco Spade, and the reason I picked it is I saw I was watching all these YouTube videos, and I was like, I'm gonna get a Harley. And everybody's like, nah, Harleys are $100 headache. And then I was like, what's a bike I can start and learn? And then I saw this soccer mom on a Kimco Spade motorcycling down the highway, and I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And so that's how I ended up doing it. And so this summer will be more taking a break from business as well. And so I'll have more time to learn and ride and be able to pass my test.
I'm trying to do that myself on the motorcycle. I've been trying to go ahead and take me a class real quick, but something always gets in the way.
You know what I've learned at this point? You gotta just book it and force yourself to go, because if not, you never make time for you. I don't know what the word is, but you never make time for yourself. I literally had to just this summer say, hey, we're scheduling a big vacation. We're scheduling 4 vacations with our family members, and my nephews are 13 and 4, and it's that time right before they become a really cranky teenager and before he becomes an old kindergartner. So I'm taking them to Disneyland together. That last time, I probably can get them both to go. And then me and my mom are going to Alaska. And then I'm doing country music concert in Chicago, and just all kind of stuff. But you got to book it. If you don't put it in the schedule, it won't happen.
Oh wow. Yeah, I learned how to use the scheduling system myself recently. At times I'm I can just put it in my head I can remember that. Yeah, when I first booked you, you had some type of app. I'm like, what the heck is this app?
Link,
yeah. Yeah, I've been using it.
It's really powerful. It's worth it, because you literally, you're running around chasing people, trying to get your schedule together. Hey, let's how we can get these schedules tight, and it's way better.
Yeah, I try to use my phone sometimes, but the counting on the phone is hit and miss sometimes.
Well, and I think it's just because the way we have such a busy schedule in America, most American schedules are all over the place, that we really can't schedule ourselves appropriately, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm getting better at that, but okay. So since you're going to be in Texas for a little bit longer, I looked at some of your videos a while back by gentrification. So what you think about that for real?
Well, here's the thing. People that own houses and keep owning houses during gentrification, they're not complaining. They got their money. It's the people who rent in areas. And so for me, a lot of times people are like, oh, gentrification extension. I'm like, well, what have you been? And again, this is not to ignore redlining, ignore loan officers being biased, and none of that. I just always ask people what you do in the past 5 years, right? Because if you speak to people in Austin, if you speak to older white people in Austin, they're like, oh, I saw the prices going up, so I headed to Liberty Hill, I headed to Georgetown, I got a USDA loan way out here, no money down. Well, then you talk to young people, oh, I don't want to be all the way out there. I'm like, no money down? You can always move back after a year or two. You can always get back in the city, but people don't want to hear that though.
I mean, I guess with us, a lot of times we want to we get into peer pressure, man, you way out there, man. I ain't gonna drive out there.
Which is silly to me, because I'm like, In my experience with just my family alone, we always had this old house that we fell back to, that anybody could stay, anybody could have time to come see it, and it's just like, that's what I think people are missing when they don't make a decision or they don't commit. There's nowhere for them to go, right? There's no asset for them to liquidate. And so I get it. Grant Cardone, people telling you don't buy a house so you can be mobile. But I meet people who stay in the same city for 30 years of their whole life. And so it's like you could have been on the house, you know?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, the part that kind of hurt me when some people in a gentrification area or maybe like something close to it, they just give the house away.
Yeah.
Or let the house go back with taxes and whatnot. I mean, I know some people might have like bad memories in the house sometimes, but you have to think that's still an asset.
Yes, it is still an asset. I think what you have to remember is responsibility. Everybody just want to stay somewhere and be responsible for it, if that makes sense. Right? Because if I tell you, hey man, you got to take care of this property, and let's say you do have the bad memories, let's say you do have some hang-ups about it, it's easier for you to walk away. Easier. I'll prime example. So we're talking about Texas. So let me give you an example of South Carolina. South Carolina is dirt cheap, penny cheap. There's a school called Clemson University. You ever heard of them?
Oh yeah, that's big time.
So that city, the housing beside the college is all the hood. It's all the hood. That's most colleges. The housing beside it is hood. It's hood or it's just lower income, working class life.
That's true.
There was a lady, it was an article, and they took a picture out front of her house. But in the background, the yard dirty, the blinds all tore up. She was like, the property taxes are so crazy now. And, I inherited this house for free 13 years ago, but I'm really getting tired of the property taxes. Well, I looked up the property tax in the area. It's like $500. She's complaining of a house she inherited for free 13 years ago. No mortgage on it. And mad about $500 in taxes. It's not gentrification. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's you don't. Yeah, it's lazy. Like it don't want to pay that bill. And $500 comes out to like $50-$40 a month for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think they give you a payment plan or something like that, don't they?
Yes, that's why I was sitting there looking at her like, what?
Yeah, I mean, where where I have my stuff at, the property tax is not that much. It's cheap.
I don't even know what to tell you. Like, as I listened to it, I was like, that don't even make no sense.
I mean, some people gonna blow that on like, I know you're drinking coffee right now. Some people spend that like in a couple months on coffee.
And then I used to have a coffee shop. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, the stuff people are complaining about is called invisible barriers. And it's also a limiting belief. So, for example, if you have a limiting belief that, oh my God, everything's bad, there's no jobs, there's no opportunity, taxes sky high, like, no matter when I talk to you, you're going to have a problem, and you're going to create a problem for it, right? So, even when I would talk to people on the phone and they lived in New York, I did consulting calls. I'm like, once you rent out a room in your house, oh, I don't want to do that. Once you rent the whole house out and move, oh, I don't want to do that. Once you do that, you know what I mean? And so you would give them solutions, and because they didn't, for whatever reason, because they didn't like the answer, they wouldn't do any of it. So I always tell people, I'm like, careful when you give people solutions, because people will find a problem for every solution.
Yeah, some people just want to hear themselves talk. They want somebody to agree with them pretty much.
Well, yeah, they having a bad day, just agree with them. And that doesn't do anything for them.
Wow. So let's ask this other question. Let me see, it was another video that I seen a while back. I think you were saying something about go to like a council meeting or something like that to figure out their plan, if I'm not mistaken.
So you can go on any city's website and look at their economic opportunity plans, and kind of see what are some of the things the city's moving forward on in 5 to 10 years. Another way is city council meetings. A lot of times people complain, oh, I don't know why they're doing this or that. It's right, they have to document everything. It's right there in your city council meeting. Yeah, so if you go on the website, it's economic opportunity is what you'll see the link.
Yeah, I've been to a few of them myself in the past. That's how I kind of actually got hooked up on game. That buy some property like in a different area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Once upon a time, I mean, I know you had to go to like the city hall, like certain times of the month when they have auctions.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that stuff be cheap. Down there, pennies on the dollar most of the time.
From what I think, yeah. I mean, well, and then I say it like this: it's not just pennies on the dollar. How long has it been that way? How long has it been abandoned? I mean, right now there's 17 million vacant homes in America. So when people be like, "Oh, wholesaling is so crowded, it's so crowded," I'm like, no, it's not. It's crowded if you all try to go for the same area.
Yeah, I see the wholesalers all the time. There's money out there.
Well, it's money out there if you're consistent.
Yeah, I come from a sales background myself, but yeah, that'll be something to think about as well for myself.
Well, I would say Atlanta is crazy, but Augusta, Macon, Georgia, everywhere around Georgia, probably lots of opportunities. It's not as hard.
Yeah, you're right about that. All right, hang on 1 second, Ericka.
No worries, because you got contacts.
All right, I'm back.
No worries.
So besides doing your business, what else you like to do for yourself?
Really, really, I always tell people, I'm like, I just strategize, like, ways to spend time with friends and family, some travel, and kind of like just demystifying starting a business, demystifying owning a business, demystifying being a business owner. Because it's like, I meet people who I'm like, you own your own business? And they're not anybody particularly special or anything, and they just believe in themselves. So that was a big thing for me when people were complaining that, these jobs won't pay you what you're worth, they don't want to pay you right. And I'm like, you ain't never gonna get paid like what you think you're worth. I mean, I think I'm worth $1 million a year. Is anybody gonna pay me that? Like, right? So it's like, you're never gonna get what you think you're exactly worth. And that's why people focus on side hustles or investments or passive income off onto the side, because you're never gonna get, if you have to convince somebody else to pay you what you think you're worth, you ain't gonna get that. You ain't gonna get it.
Yeah, the other people in business other people in business to make money, not to just give it away or whatnot.
Well, I mean, you could be doing a really great job as a teacher. The afternoon program, she can make if you're a nurse, New York nurses make like $92,000 in New York. They make $100,000 in California. I think they make $100,000 in Hawaii. They ain't making $92,000 in Mississippi. They're not making $92,000 in parts of even if you're skilled. There's a limit to what that job can pay you, but there's no limit to your after hours or other things you want to create. Because if you're a nurse and you're like, hey, how can I help other people become nurses? Well, you could create an ebook, you could create a course. I was just at a conference, Scaling Systems, and there was guys in there, they were medical students, and they literally are like their fourth, one is in residency, one's in medical school still. They created a $5,000 course to help parents and people figure out which medical school they need to go to, what grades they need to get on their MCAT, and how they can improve everything in their medical and they're becoming a doctor. And it's like $5,000. So it's like, imagine that being in medical school, and they made I think they made like $700,000 in their company while in medical school, right?
Oh,
Most people are thinking medical school, you're broke, you're tired, you're eating ramen noodles. These guys are living good. So don't let anybody limit your earning ability. You can earn as much money as you want.
Yeah, the opportunity out there, you just got to put the work into it.
It's always, I'm telling people, it's always assess what you're good at, where can you help give somebody else, or where can you just grow your own little side project.
All right, speaking of the Southeast in the U.S., what you think about Alabama right now?
In what way? Like real estate or like just in general?
I mean, since everything is growing, I'm noticing myself, Alabama, I guess they say it's going to be the next Florida, they say. So what you think about that?
Nah, it's not going to be the next Florida. No. But it will get a lot of people. So, prime example, when you had the great move north, you had all these people move from Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, like move north, right? Great migration. Well, those people are returning. because the cost of Ohio, the cost of Chicago, the cost of New York is just so crazy. Now they're in their 60s and 70s. The number one person who owns property and land in Mississippi is, on average, a person that lives in Chicago. So, like, Mississippi just keeps doing this stat every year that, like, majority of our landowners don't even live here. They live in Chicago. And that's the descendants of the people who left. And so, same thing with Alabama. When I was in Alabama, I was in Vestavia Hills and Hoover. And Hoover was on MTV because the city itself of Hoover is beneath Birmingham. The average income there is $92,000. Nobody knows that because they, like, have this ideal of what Alabama looks like. That's where you have a lot of medical. That's where you have a lot of headquarters, AT&T, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, paying factory workers like $50K a year, manufacturing. So you'll meet a lot of black men who own their own house. The housing's cheap, and it's not as crazy as you think. Now, Huntsville, Alabama has, like, the number one area in the Southeast for engineers, scientists, and, you know, they were just on TV with the show, like, Love and Real Estate or something crazy. And those places are booming, and they've been booming for the past 7 years, as far as investors, as far as investing circles. When I would go to conferences 7 years ago, people would be talking about Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah, I always hear about Huntsville. I'm like, no, it can't be, not Alabama. You always hear about, you know, it's dirt poor, you know, it's nothing out there, you know, things like that.
There are parts of Birmingham that look like shacks, and you're like, what is going on? But in general, most times, it's not like that. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, they doing pretty good out there. Actually, I go back home every 2 weeks almost. I drive. Yeah, I mean, I notice a lot of things. Alabama, I don't know if it's going to be Florida or anything like that, but it's going to hold its own.
Well, it's just because it's cheap. It's cheap. Cheap housing will always have a place when you want to retire. And if you think about it like this, Asheville, North Carolina at one point was abandoned. Like, downtown was like a ghost town. It was looking bad. Manufacturers had left. And a bunch of New Yorkers came down and bought up a bunch of the buildings and invested in it in like 1989. Asheville, North Carolina right now is one of the most expensive parts of North Carolina. Like, you can't even get stuff for less than $1 million. But that takes someone putting investment into it, right? If you go to Birmingham, Alabama, Hoover, Alabama, you'll see the mountains they have there. So some of the houses they have are like 600,000, 500,000, 400,000.
It's nice out there.
What was funny when I was down there volunteering with the Red Cross, we would have guys that were helping, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we drive car deep. We go to Atlanta and get girlfriends, try to bring them back here." And I just thought that was the funniest thing. But then I thought about how many women are in Atlanta. So if you're a woman in Atlanta and you're like, "Man, it's really hard to date," and then this dude from Birmingham, Alabama, or Hoover has a house, he has a car, he has a job, you might be like, all right, I'm gone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crowded out here anyway, but, you know, you got to do what works or whatever, but okay.
You got to make sense.
I mean, if I have to start all over again, Alabama probably would be one of the places I actually, you know, start over at. You know, for the reason that you just named.
I would visit for sure. I mean, to me, Florida, as much as people love Florida, I don't see it. Like, when I talk to people who are from Florida, they're like, girl, you'll have people waste 10 years of their life. And I'm like, what do you mean? They'll just be going to the beach every weekend, look up, they're 35 years old, ain't never did nothing, ain't gone nowhere, ain't changed jobs.
Oh, wow.
Because it's like a very vacation and tourism relaxed area. I met a lot of people who moved from Florida to North Carolina for work. So that's why I was like, I get the appeal of Florida, but the people that are Northerners who have an online job, so they can go get in any space they want because everything they're doing is online. Very digital world.
Yeah, that's the new way.
It's hard to predict, but anything that's where you want to live in a nice place. You know what I mean? To me, I'm like,
it's priceless.
Well, Midtown, I remember talking to this woman, she had this big old house, and her husband died, and she went down here to Midtown. And when they told her the rent was like $2,500, she was like, I have a big old house, this same size house I can rent for less than $2,000. Why would I go here to Midtown? And I really want to tell her, like, that's a stuck mindset. Like, you don't need this giant house anymore. Your husband passed away. Like, relocate, move.
Yeah, you don't have to be scared. Just make the move. That's all you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Miss Ericka, we about to wrap this up shortly. Do you have any remarks or anything you want a statement?
Nothing. People should be open and basically get involved in the area. The thing that I see the most problem that I come across is people don't even know what's going on in their own city. I remember going to a Grant Cardone event, 33,000 people packing out a stadium in Miami, and I was talking to Uber drivers and people that live in they're like, what? What's happening here? Like they hadn't even heard of it. And so the power of internet is crazy, but like if you're asleep at the wheel, you won't get any opportunity. Like there's not going to be any smooth roll into opportunity moments in the future. It's really you have to be kind of focused in and like, okay, hey, I want to get in real estate. Then you need to plug into everything real estate on Eventbrite, on Facebook, on Instagram in your city first, and then go from there.
Oh wow! All right, I'm gonna talk to you in a second when I get off. But we do appreciate Miss Ericka Williams for coming through on Hey Use Your Inside Voice with Mr. Old School Ryder. You guys have a good day and stay right there, Ericka.
Okay.